All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at the story of the UK's very first science park. It's a place that ended up becoming a model for innovation all over the world. I mean, it's the million-dollar question, right? How do you actually build an engine for innovation? It's something people have been wrestling with forever. And back in the day, the Cambridge Science Park was one of the UK's first big answers to that question. So, what exactly did that answer look like on the ground? Okay, so before we go any further, let's get on the same page with a key term here: quaternary industry. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. We're not talking about factories making cars or anything like that. This is the knowledge economy. Think big ideas, information tech, cutting-edge R&D, super high-level science. That's the stuff science parks are designed to supercharge. So, if that's your goal, to build this amazing hub for the knowledge economy, what's the secret sauce? What do you need? Well, the people who started the Cambridge Science Park, they had a pretty clear recipe they were following. Let's wind the clock back. We're in 1970, and Trinity College, which is part of the world-famous University of Cambridge, has this big idea. They want to create something the UK had never seen before, a place designed specifically for brainy academics to team up with commercial businesses. You got to understand, this wasn't just some office complex. No, this was a massive, bold experiment. And their formula was surprisingly simple, really. Just three key ingredients. First up, you absolutely need a pipeline of talent. And what better place for that than the University of Cambridge, right? You've got brilliant minds graduating every year. Second, you need to be connected to the rest of the world. The M11 motorway gave them a direct line to London, and Stansted Airport opened up international travel. And number three, and this is crucial, you need a place where these brilliant people actually want to live and work. With all its history and culture, Cambridge was the perfect spot. But it wasn't just about business and brains. Nope. The vision was so much bigger than that. A huge part of the master plan was to make this place sustainable and, just a genuinely nice place to spend your day. And when you look at the design, it was so ahead of its time. I mean, they were thinking about this stuff way before it was trendy. They designed buildings to use as much natural light as possible to save electricity. They made sure to protect green spaces, like lakes and forests for wildlife habitats. Even the little details, like using local plants for landscaping and sustainable wood for construction, it was basically green design before green design was even a thing. And they didn't forget about how people would get there either. They really wanted to avoid just a giant parking lot filled with cars. So they pushed for greener transport. They put in bike racks and showers, they had e-bikes people could use, and they even set up a car-sharing system called CamShare. The whole idea was to reduce traffic jams and pollution. I mean, on paper, it sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? Yeah, well, this is where the story gets a little more complicated. Because as we all know, even the best laid plans can go sideways. The incredible success of the park started to create a whole new set of problems. Turns out, all that innovation came with some hidden costs. Let's talk about the biggest contradiction right off the bat. The vision? Beautiful, protected green spaces. The reality? The whole park was built on what's called a greenfield site, which is just a nice way of saying it was built on untouched farmland. So, in order to create this shiny new landscaped environment, an actual natural habitat had to be bulldozed. And the problems didn't stop with just the land. Other issues started bubbling to the surface. For one, the jobs here were super specialized. We're talking PhD-level roles. That's great, but it meant a lot of local folks couldn't really get a foot in the door. And that whole plan to prevent traffic chaos? Well, it just wasn't enough to handle the sheer number of people. This is really where the park became a victim of its own success. Think about this number. Every single day, about 7,000 people commute to this one spot. 7,000! No matter how many bike racks you build, that many people traveling at the same time is going to put a massive, massive strain on the roads. So that idealistic vision of a green, easy commute, it just slammed into the hard wall of reality, and this quote really paints the picture. Imagine you've just had a long, mentally draining day making some huge scientific breakthrough, and then you have to sit in traffic for an hour just to leave the parking lot. That's the reality for a lot of people there. It's exactly the kind of stress and pollution the park was designed to avoid. So, what's the takeaway here? On the one hand, you can't deny it. The Cambridge Science Park is a massive success. It helped turn the whole area into a tech powerhouse in Europe. But, on the other hand, it's a total cautionary tale. It's a perfect example of how sometimes success can be your biggest problem, creating new challenges that are just as tricky as the ones you set out to solve. And that really brings us back to that big question from the beginning. Look, this place generated incredible wealth and world-changing ideas, from Microsoft research labs to biotech pioneers. But at the same time, it came at the cost of natural land. It created traffic nightmares, and it may have left some of the local community behind. So for these amazing hubs of innovation, you have to wonder, what is the real price of progress? And maybe more importantly, who is the one paying it?